hotter out there today.
Isn't it great?
Really?
I love it.
All right, so yesterday we ended up having a good practice, really focusing in on Seattle, all three phases. Kyle Long did not practice yesterday, more of just soreness, with him. And so there's no issue there. We just wanted to give him some rest, which would help him out. And so that was pretty much how we do things around here when somebody's in that stage. And so, get going again back today with those guys. But really, Kyle was the only one yesterday.
What about Bryce Callahan? That was something we hadn't seen before. He was on there with a knee.
Oh yeah, no, nothing. No, it's all minor. Yeah, nothing major.
So like, could Kyle Long go?
Yeah.
To
Yeah, Kyle. Yeah, I mean he could. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean he's sore,
yeah.
but we'll get him going a little bit.
This doesn't threaten Monday at all.
No.
Man, it's been almost 2 years since Kyle first suffered the major injury on an ankle. What's the challenge of keeping your arms around that whole thing, knowing that it's going to be a lingering thing?
Yeah, well, that's the number one thing you have to understand is that we need to understand is it is going to linger. So there's that fine line of doing too much, but yet knowing, hey, we need to get those reps in practice. It's just too valuable to not practice, and he understands that. So it comes down to trust, us trusting him and believing in where his pain's at, and then we just week by week we kind of evaluate it.
Matt, what did the Packers do, if anything, to limit Trey Burton's production in the passing game, and what can you guys do to make sure that he's producing like you guys hope?
Yeah. Nothing specifically. Again, they did their stuff. We did our stuff. One thing that you'll see as we go through this year is I don't think you're going to necessarily see where you try to just force feed somebody. We let it naturally happen in this offense. So there might be a game where a few games where it's like that, and then all of a sudden it's totally different. And that's sometimes that has to do with what the defense's plan is, and sometimes that has to do with just what happened on that coverage.
Yesterday, Mitch talked about the fine line of being safe but also being aggressive.
Yeah.
How can you help them through that? Is that an experience thing? What's your...
It is an experience deal. For us, trying to be aggressive is important, and that's for everybody, not just him. The mentality of us in offense and defense, being aggressive, specifically with him, is just that's why in training camp when we say, I wasn't worried about the interceptions in training camp. I do worry about them now, but that's why we practiced in training camp to know what throws we can and cannot make. And so I don't know if you say it's by game, but we'll always pick and choose our shots. Well, they'll always be in there. There'll never be a game we go into it and don't have shots. It's just a matter of when we do it, how the flow's going, what's the situation. And so teaching Mitch when to take them and when to trust it. And then if you do take one and it's a poor result, it's okay. You got a great defense behind you that can get you back on track. You got players that believe in you. So we're going to learn this thing as we go.
Coach, on that same question, Allen Robinson showed a real talent for going up
Yeah.
in coverage and coming down with the ball. How tough is it to convince Mitch he can throw to a covered receiver like that and have the trust that his guy's going to do that and not throw an interception?
That's a situation there where in practice you can go ahead and get those, and then in the game even better. One throw like that at the beginning of the game to Allen that he made on that sideline catch, it's amazing the confidence that can do for you as a player. So his confidence level just off that one throw is already higher than what it was going into the game. More of those, the more they keep happening, the better. Now, you need to give them those opportunities, and that's my job as a play caller to give him those chances and both those guys those chances to develop that. It'll organically happen throughout the year.
Matt, Mitch also talked about pocket awareness yesterday. When you have a quarterback that can obviously run and do what he can do on the move, how do you teach them when to bail out versus when to move in the pocket?
Yeah, so we always teach them to be a thrower first. Always be a thrower first. Anything that happens after that, let it happen naturally. Specifically, you'll see some teams that want to play certain coverages that enable you to take advantage of your legs. And then we'll know that going into the game when that might come. But be a thrower first, and then if it's not there, use your natural instincts to take off and run. And then be smart when you're when you're running. You know, be smart with the football. Be smart when you slide. Don't take that extra hit. Situationally, if it's close to the first down and you're trying to get the first, then you might sacrifice your body a little bit more. But he's got to know all that. And we do have a weapon with him and his legs that he has, and he's just, again, going through the stages of this offense of learning the progressions. Once he gets those progressions down, then that part will start coming more naturally.
So the follow-up to that, were you satisfied in Green Bay with the consistency of the time he spent looking downfield, or did he start pulling it down a little sooner in the second half?
I think overall I was very happy with his footwork. There were a few plays, and some of them were in the second half, where he was feeling a little bit of the pocket from one side or the other, and then his eyes were going to the line of scrimmage. And that's not unnatural. That's very common from quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks, because the clock is a little bit quicker in their mind. So he watched it on tape. He knows when those plays are, and he'll do everything he possibly can to not do that as much this game.
Mitch was kind of self-critical, you know, in his press conference yesterday. I'm sure he's been that in the film room too. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you want your quarterback to know his weaknesses, but is there a fine line between knowing them and then focusing on them too much?
Yeah, there is. You don't want to focus on them too much. You got to. I tell everybody in there, admit your mistakes, correct them, and move on. And so he's doing that now. He's going to be a little. The night of the game, he wanted to know right away, how do I correct my mistakes? What did I do wrong? How can I get better? And so he's going to build this library throughout the year of good plays and bad plays. We got to make the bad plays small and keep jumping up those good plays. It's one sample size, one game, 70 plays roughly. So you cut that in half or whatever for the passes. There's not a lot of – so he'll continue to grow that thing. And I'm not going to let him be super hard on himself, even though he has that in his DNA. He's like that. I'm not going to let him be too crazy. But it's okay to have an accountability and an ownership to everything.
Matt, what do you feel like you accomplished by lining Charles Leno up at receiver the other night?
Well, you know, we were hoping that they were thinking he was going to be a deep threat. It just didn't happen. But no, there's some reasoning behind it. I'm not going to get into here why we do certain things, but there's a method to the madness.
Is there a general thought that you have about showing something that's so unconventional or so unusual about that you feel like will benefit you either in that game or long term?
Yeah. Try. Go ahead. I'll take you both. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt.
When you first got the job here, can you game plan how you will respond and how you'll try to lead the team in the wake of a bad loss? Can you strategize for how you're going to do that?
You can try to, but I don't think it's as authentic as it is when you just, after it happens. It happens a lot easier when you can just kind of think of where this team is at. We're building our own identity right now as a team. So if I try to predict who we are in the offseason, how I'm going to handle a loss to this team or that team, it's hard. Where we're at right now, I know our identity and how we can get better in certain areas and so I think about it the night before. I think about it the day of how I want to attack it, and it may change from the night before to the day of.
What do you lean on? Bouncing back from a loss to a rival in that fashion, that's a tough task for a veteran coach. Mm-hmm. What do you lean on for how you're getting through the week and how you're getting through?
Just being me. Don't change. I'm not going to change a thing. I'm not. It's one game, and I understand the magnitude of it, but we also need to keep an idea here of where we're at. We're week one. So as long as we look back at the end of the year and we somehow use this quote-unquote failure or learning experience to the good of us down the road. I know we can't see that right now, and that's my message to the team. It's hard to see down the road. Things happen for a reason, and so I'm a firm believer in that. And when things happen for a reason and you stay positive, then in the end we're going to use this thing. There's going to be one game or one play in this season where we benefited from this happening. That's how I see it.
Just curious about the unbalanced line that sometimes kind of showed up on Sunday too. What do you feel you gain out of that from a matchup perspective?
Well, it can make the defense has to make some adjustments on the run. It can be some different looks that they have. Most defenses know how to prepare for it, but there's some that maybe you catch them and there's a gap. There's a gap that opens up that wouldn't have opened up in a normal alignment. So that's all part of it, and then we just kind of evaluate whether we like it or not, and and we go from there.
When you look back at how you guys used your timeouts in the first,
Yeah.
it was all offensive side.
Yeah.
Were you okay?
I was okay with that. Yep, I'm okay with that. Just this first game, and there was a couple personnel deals and guys getting lined up and certain things. You're going to see I'll be more flexible in the first half. I won't be flexible in the second half, but in the first half I'll be flexible. If we need to, okay, just let's regroup and let's get the right play.
You mentioned that Mitch knows he has a strong defense behind him. How can having a unit that strong build confidence in a young quarterback?
Well, it allows you to be the risk taker, and if let's just say you take a shot downfield and it's a 40, 45-yard throw downfield and they intercept it, right? Now it's almost like a punt. Now your defense comes out and you feel like, you have a good chance of getting that ball back. Whereas if you're on a team that maybe doesn't have as great of a defense or feel that way, now, okay, you give the ball back to X quarterback and now they go down and now all of a sudden you feel a little upset that you gave the ball back to them. So you have that in your back pocket knowing that you have a solid defense. And so now you take that element away, and we're always going to teach that with him. Doesn't mean every game you're going to see it. I know everybody wants to see it. We want to see it, trust me. But it's just for certain reasons you might not always see it. And then there might be games where that's all you see for certain reasons. So he knows that we want to have an aggressive mentality, and I need to help him have that.
When Mitch bails out, I know there are general scramble rules for the receivers, but how much is that them actually seeing it and going through it with Mitch and getting over?
There's some element to being able to try to practice that. It's not as real, and people have rules for scramble drill. I think one of the best ones you saw was I think it was the first down at the end of the game. We got the ball back down 1, and Mitch was scrambling around, spun around the pocket, came out, and then Taylor had a good little comeback on the scramble drill, caught the ball on a kind of a broke down play and got out of bounds. That happened naturally. You got a savvy vet in Taylor that's able to do that. And Mitch just did it on his own. You can practice it, but it's hard in practice because guys don't feel as real doing it.
Matt, I've asked you before about the idea of the defense being fixed show, so to speak. I was wondering what you thought of the defensive performance in the second half, and if you had an issue with it, is it awkward for you to go to a veteran defensive coordinator like Fangio and say, here's what I'd like to do, here's what we should do, here's, that kind of thing?
No, so nothing's very awkward for me with my players and coaches because I'm always going to truly speak just from where I'm from my heart. I might tell them, and so respectfully, I'm going to tell them, and I did that with the team in front. I'm a believer in ownership and accountability, and so I'm not going to tell Vic what to do. That's it. That's his specialty, and I'll never do that. I'll give him advice here or there. He can take it or leave it. That's just out of respect. But we all know it was half 1 and half 2, and it doesn't take a whole lot of common sense to see the difference between the two. And so why is that? Well, that's what happens in between those 4 walls. When we're in there as a team, we talk about it. And we don't just do it side by side, meaning offense on their own, defense on their own. We let everybody see where we went wrong. And I think that's important. And not just players, but coaches. We let them all see this is why. We learn from that. And then what happens is your mentality changes of that whole, well, this is, this is why. And now how do we fix it? And then how do we make that better so it doesn't happen again?
Matt, it being your first game as a head coach, were you surprised at all by how quickly, really after the first quarter on defense and the second half on offense, the Packers were able to make adjustments?
How quickly they made adjustments? No, not really. I think that I'm not so sure what the adjustments were. I think some of it was just, some play style. I think it's, they went to the quick game in the second half. He had a bum leg, so ball's out quick. And they did some good things with that. Offensively, I think more of it came down to us. We got to execute. We didn't execute situationally. So, I don't really look at it that way.
Seattle's kicking game seemed to pin Denver deep 4 or 5 times in that game last week. Does that kind of change your situational preparation a little bit, seeing that, hey, maybe you're starting at the -10 more than once, or is it the play calling?
Not too much. I think where you get into the issue is when you're inside the 8, now you got to be careful because anytime you drop back, you got that goal line sitting right there, penalties, holding, safety. So not really, but once you start getting a little bit tighter, I think it's more on the punts when you get back there in that corner there and you can't recover from those punts. We had a few of those in one of the I think it was the Denver preseason game. We had a bunch of those where we were stuffed back there in the corner. Thank you. Thank you.
So we have
Andy.
Potsy.
How much question for you? How much does it cost, or how much is it expensive for?
Hey, Coach, the linebackers seem to have a little problem in coverage in the second half last week. How much do you think Roquan can help with that, and how much more do you hope he plays this week?
What plays are you alluding to where there was problems?
Some of the stuff, the quick passes from Rodgers over the middle. The linebackers seem to be a step slow.
Yeah, I didn't see it that way.
Some of the challenges Russell Wilson presents to you as a defender?
Well, number one, this guy's a good quarterback. He's got a big arm. He's accurate. He sees the field, makes good decisions. And then you add in all his creativity and his elusiveness, and you got a hard guy to deal with. I think the guy's been to 4 Pro Bowls. He's been a very productive and winning quarterback for them since he started. And he's got a unique skill set, but I think what's lost with him a lot of times is this guy's a good quarterback. All of a sudden, he became a 5'2" runner, meaning 5'2" in the 40. He'd still be a good quarterback, okay? But then you add that in, that creativity and escapability and the plays he makes that are improvised, makes him a double threat.
Vic, did you get a glimpse of what your defense could be on Sunday? And if so, what's that identity, what's that personality that you see in it?
We were just playing good defense, against a tough opponent on the road, and we were doing well for a while. I'm not into those blanket statements. I don't know what to say.
Vic, when Rodgers comes out, he's got an injured leg, but he's also getting the ball out quickly. How do you balance the decisions to send pressure or to try to tackle and play coverage and not send extra guys?
It's just a balance. You have to be able to do both. When you're playing a great quarterback, it's hard to do one thing. That's why they're great. They can they're good against all different types of schemes or can handle it. You just have to mix it up. And, when he is getting it out quick, the pressure becomes a little less appealing because he's getting it out quick anyway.
Vic, was the second half just a case of Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers, or did you feel like something changed the way you guys approach it defensively that was not as good as you'd want it to be?
Nothing changed in our approach. The only, the biggest thing that happened was, we gave up 2 big pass plays, So anytime you give up those type of plays, that will give you the impression that everything has gone haywire. But everything didn't go haywire. It's just they made 2 really big plays. And, the 3rd and 14 conversion was a very big play in that game.
You brought back all 5 DB starters this year. With that experience, is it fair to expect more than some of the mistakes on the long plays?
Well, there really wasn't mistakes as far as, doing the wrong thing. We just got beat. So, yeah, we do expect more. We got to win more of those situations, and definitely where they don't turn into those types of gains.
What was your full diagnosis on the 75-yarder to Cobb, particularly after the catch is made?
Well, we were in man defense, and Eddie Jackson came within a whisker of knocking the ball down, and then it became really good runner with the ball in open field, not a lot of people around him, and he made a great play.
Nick, what gave you the confidence on that drive to have Roquan on the field for those important plays?
Well, I have confidence in him, you know, as far as being able to know what to do. Again, I think the thing that gets lost with all these players is he was here in all the OTAs, and the mini camps, I don't know, I think it's 14 or 16 practices. He did a good job learning our system in that time, and then when he eventually got back.
For Khalil Mack, though, to not have been here and do what he did, I mean, how impressed were you with that, and how quickly has he just kind of stepped in?
Obviously, he's stepped in very well, but I think, you know, everybody likes to overanalyze things. You know, how much can you play a guy that's just come in like that? No training camp, no nothing. Hadn't played since whenever his last game was last season. But I think with special guys, you throw that stuff out the window. He's a special player. He did special things under special circumstances.
Leonard was one-on-one against Bakhtiari quite a bit. What did you take away from what he did on Sunday?
He held his own. He held his own in there.
How would you assess Quitt's game against the Packers, Nick Kwiatkowski?
It was fine. You know, one play stood out where that he didn't pick up, you know, do the right thing, but otherwise he was fine.
Vic, what was your overall assessment of Akeem's game on Sunday?
Good.
What particularly impressed you?
Well, he gave us some good pass rush at times, played the run well when they did run it. Thought he played good.
What has Roquan done to earn more playing time?
Just being here. You know, part of the, you know, his situation was different than Khalil's last week in that he was still nursing an injury. Khalil was just fighting newness and not playing. So we were a little cautious on that.
What are your impressions of Roy Robertson Harrison? How do you think that that's going to help him confidence-wise, getting a couple of good plays like he did?
Well, it's immensely helps your confidence. Having good results, doing good things on the field is way more important than sitting on somebody's couch and getting analyzed and trying to build your confidence up.
With Leonard, did you get a sense that he was limited by that club at all, or is that getting in his way?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's no way around it. You know, try and type on your computers there with one hand instead of two. I mean, you got your head in the sand if you don't think that affects a guy's play, one hand.
Well, right, so would that be a reason maybe, I mean, you want him on the field, but would he maybe have his snaps limited a little bit? Because,
What did you make of?
He was lined up exclusively on the left side. Is that more because of the newness to the system and everything, or is it, you know, do you think he has the flexibility to play on both sides or rush from different positions? Or?
Yeah, he has that flexibility. But I think under the circumstances, I think left side's his favorite side, but he can move around.
What'd you make of Kyle Fuller's dropped interception there at the end of the game?
What do you mean?
Did you see anything about it that he dropped it? He's obviously been re-signed by the club. I'm sure you expect him to make that play.
Yeah, he expects himself to make that play. He dropped it.
Will you guys have to continue to be cautious with Roquan Smith?
I think, you know, the more and more he's here and the more he's confident in his injury that he had, you know, caution dissipates.
Because as game ones go, even though you lost, do you have any better feeling about the potential of this defense or what this defense can do based on what you saw against Green Bay?
Not really. I mean, we lost, you know, and that's the overriding feeling, you know, and sure, you like the way you saw some things be played, and there was a lot of good things out there, but ultimately we got to be able to close it out, and we didn't get it done.
What stands out to you about Chris Carson running the ball for Seattle?
I'm very impressed with him. You know, for a 7th-round pick, these guys got a steal, I believe, at that pick. The guy's got good size, runs tough, keeps with good instincts, got good vision. Been very, very impressed with him, as they are, because they about split the time evenly between him and Penny last week.
With Eddie Goldman getting the contract extension last week, what have you kind of seen from him over the years to how he's grown and to earn that kind of opportunity?
Well, he's really, you know, from the day when he first got here, he he wasn't in shape, he weighed more, and he was struggling to learn what to do. And now he's in great shape, got his body where he needs to be, and he knows what to do. So it's been a upward trend with him, and he's done a great job.
Anything else?
Would you have hit for Pedro Strop?
Huh? He did? Oh, he didn't have a closer before that. He'd take one of those three guys Milwaukee has. If he can hold off Milwaukee, he's manager of the year.
Thanks, Vic.
you doing?
Doing well. Good. How are you? Good, good.
Mark, Mitch talked about the other day, as far as taking shots, how the run can set that up. Is that imperative, or are there other ways to set that up?
I think it's imperative. I mean, I think you certainly have to have not only the ability to run the football when you want to, but the appearance, the appearance of being able to run the football when you want to get in the play action game. In terms of alluding to last week, there were times we, should have, would have, could have run the ball better in certain situations, and we had a couple of shots set up that worked out, a couple that didn't, and that's certainly something that we need to improve upon.
What did Jordan Howard show you specifically on Sunday?
I thought Jordan did some really good things. I think there were some plays. It was interesting. Jordan had some plays that were there that maybe we didn't get quite enough out of we wanted, and then he also made some plays that weren't necessarily blocked that well. So I think a combination of continuing to do the latter, which are the special plays and that make him the player he is, and then also just immediately banging it in there and it wasn't just him. We had a couple other issues in certain situations of where there was kind of more there, and you have to give them credit on that.
Was one of those plays you're talking about, I think it was a 3rd and 1 in the first half that got stuffed for no gain. Was that one of those?
Yeah, I mean, that's a team deal. Everything you do is a team deal, and that certainly there, yeah, it could have been blocked better, could have been executed better, could have been coached better, and we're all working toward that end.
Mark, you're one of the
field goal drive on the 3rd down play that Mitch comes underneath to Anthony. Is there anything Anthony can do better with that route from your perspective?
It wasn't really. No, it wasn't. The issue wasn't him on that route. There's kind of a combination of things going on that route. That's kind of a highly involved situation. No, there wasn't anything he could do differently.
Mark, you're the only person in this building that's sat in a head coach's chair before. What goes into rallying the team after a loss that's dramatic and bad? And is that when you show the most of your personality to your guys?
Greatest coaching answer of all, it depends, right? I think number one, you're honest with the staff, you're honest with the players, you're honest with, hey, this happened, and sometimes it's you get lucky, sometimes, hey, this good thing happened and you got lucky, or this bad thing happened and you got unlucky, and then the rest of them, it's truly identifying, showing on a big screen in front of the entire team, hey, we need to coach this part of it better, you guys need to execute this part of it better, and we're all in this together. It's not his fault when you walk out of the room. It's, hey, this is how we're going to solve it together. And I think, you know, Nags did a great job of all those things. But I think a lot of it depends on his, you know, his personality, and he's, you know, he's him all the time. He's who he is all the time, and the players recognize that and appreciate that.
Mark, when it comes to third and short, what type of, why did you guys like throwing the ball this past week, and what do you take from those plays going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we had kind of a specialty play there on the one, and that was a unique situation where we were going to actually, a couple things happened. They had 12 guys on the field. We were trying to snap the ball, and, you know, again, we need to coach all these aspects better. This has to do with coaching, not execution, of getting that ball snapped, and it's, you know, a first down. If we execute the play exactly perfectly, we might get a first down, and then we had a couple other things off of that. But, yeah, again, going back to question one, we have to be able to convert on 3rd and inches against anybody, and that we have to challenge, you know, every aspect of that to get it done.
Going through a full game film review with Mitch, what kind of stood out about how he went about approaching that to you?
Mitch is awesome in that way. He's very, again, he just pragmatic, just, hey, that was awesome, or that stunk. And he's very, you know, he's very honest with himself. He immediately, you know, almost without exception, immediately recognizes, hey, you know, this happened because of A, B, and C, and he knows immediately. And I think going back to just the basics of for him of just, hey, start with number one in the right spot, in the right rhythm, and so many great things are going to happen after that, because he is so talented, he's smart, he's tough, he's everything you want, and now just getting those real life, you know, meaningful situations time after time after time, you know, with the principals, with Allen Robinson, with Anthony, with all these other guys that are going to be the playmakers for us in the heat of the moment. And there's nothing, you know, live, real game situation type things are the most important for him.
Too hard on himself? I mean, clearly he's a perfectionist.
Yeah, he's a perfectionist, and he can be at times a little bit too hard on himself, or you know, just hold that, you know, the where you want to just look at something, take it in, and then chuck it, throw it away, press reset, move it, whatever that, you know, analogy is. He can do that a little bit better, you know, at times, but that's also a good thing. You know, he cares a ton. He cares a lot about his team. He cares a lot about what he puts on the field, and that's, you can work with that.
When you look at the Seahawks defense, what is your impression of why Bobby Wagner means as much to that group as he does?
Yeah, he does everything well. You know, the best thing, you know, you look down the pipe of that defense, and you're looking at Wagner and Earl just everywhere, you know, literally everywhere. You know, the knocking the ball out on the goal line when he's on the opposite side of the field to Todd Gurley, or stopping the 3rd down. It's a screen to the far sideline, and Earl Thomas is, you know, it's 3rd and whatever it was, 12-ish, 10-ish, and he's, you know, stopping it for a 7-yard gain when it should be a touchdown. And those things that they immediately jump out is just how athletic those two guys in particular, and their defense in general, are. But yeah, he's been fantastic for him, and you know, he's a challenge.
Mark, what's in general with Pete Carroll's system, what challenges someone who's planning for it?
Yeah, I think they're just exceptional in their base defense, and then they're very selective with how they attack you, and they have a base that's going to be, you know, it'll be their base. It's been their base for however many years, and it'll be their base forever, and they're really good at it. And then off of that, they're going to attack Team A, Team B, Team C completely differently, from a protection standpoint, from a pressure standpoint, and so that makes it a little bit difficult to prepare for, because you know, that it's unique to each package. But just being so good at the base and unique is the challenge.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
In your first NFL game here, was there anything noticeably different to you about the NFL than college football?
You know, again, the situational things, the timing things are a little bit different. The rules certainly are different as whatever, you know, as applying to replays or the timing structure, 2-minute warning, all that stuff. But it's ball. You have to convert 3rd and 1, and you know, whether it's Pee Wee football or the NFL.
So nothing really about the players or the level of talent or the speed or anything like that?
Oh, no, I mean, players are exceptional. No, that's absolutely a huge challenge, you know, whether it's Earl Thomas or somebody else or Pete Carroll and Ken Norton, you know, best of the best, that type of deal. No, that presents a tremendous challenge.
What can an offense gain by doing something like splitting their left tackle out in a bunch formation?
Just trying to, you know, space and numbers, trying to put guys in that was something that was unique to Green Bay in terms of how they cover, and we tried to exploit that and worked a couple times.
I don't know how you guys script your plays, but it did look like the first 2 drives there was some rhythm, some fluidity there, and then maybe that tailed off a little bit. So is there a play calling element to that where, you know, once you kind of got past the script a little bit, that there wasn't as much of that, just from a play calling standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go in that lull, we've got to, like I said before, we've got to play better, we've got to execute better, we have to coach better, and getting in a rhythm by converting on a 3rd and short, that you just, you know, get a little momentum going, and you know, there were a couple guys talking about a little lull when Aaron Rodgers went out. That can never happen, you know, ever. And I think we talked about already. We addressed that immediately. You know, talk about keep your foot on the gas, keep your foot on the gas, keep your foot on the gas. And you can't, you know, we have to complement the defense so much better especially the 2nd and 3rd quarter. The 2nd quarter, you know, they're playing lights out. We have to take advantage of that.
What's your sense for how much you're going to be able to get out of Kyle Long this week?
I mean, I expect, my sense is, yeah, he'll be good to go. He's been on, you know, he's on a weird schedule all the time, so I don't know anything, to be dead honest, but I would expect that to be just kind of how it's going to go for the rest of the year.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Chris,
fire away.
A couple of pre-snap penalties for you guys in that game. What did you see when you went back and looked at the formation and the delay?
Oh, well, the delay, I don't want to get into that. But you know, the formation thing, we got to get cleaned up. Both of them can both be handled. That's on me. We'll get that cleaned up.
Chris, have you seen a punter as a rookie make as many waves as Dixon has?
Well, he's good. I mean, he's real good. He doesn't give you a lot of chances to return the ball. So we got our hands full with this guy. It's going to be an interesting challenge for us.
Did he earn a grade that was, you know, from you when you scouted him as high as you've seen in a while?
I mean, he's a really good player. What's really impressive about him, obviously, has been his direction, but it's been his get-off time. How fast he handles the ball and gets it out, and the location it's been deadly.
When they traded up and took him, what was your reaction as a guy who's seen these players come through and
You know what? I think if an organization is strong about something like that, I think it's okay. I think when the Raiders did Janikowski, that turned out pretty good for him. You know, we're going to see him. This is going to be year 19 for him. You know what I mean? But I think that if you feel like you get a player there and he can be a franchise type guy, you do it.
in that game he had on Sunday, what specifically of that performance stood out to you? I mean, the net is, you know.
Well, like I said, his handle time and then the location, and it really just wasn't that game. He's been doing it all preseason, so it's been a consistent thing. I mean, that's who he is. You know, he's been very good at what he's doing.
Chris, what do your coverage units need to know about Tyler Lockett?
Ooh, everything. I mean, he's dynamic. I mean, he's a guy that can start and stop. He has obviously long speed. He has great quickness. He has great vision.
He's a risk taker. He's an excellent catcher. I mean, when he has the ball in his hands, I'm not going to lie, you're nervous. And so we got to do a good job of corralling him and getting a lot of hats to the football and try to keep him in there.
Anything in particular that you really liked from your guys Sunday?
Well, I was glad to see Tariq had a big return, and I loved how the guys blocked for him, starting on the outside with Prince and Kyle, Broniker on the inside, a whole host of guys. Bellamy forcing it to get the ball in Tariq's hands. I mean, those are good things. Those are plays that we have to have and need to have. But I like what they came to the table. There's things that we got to clean up, and I'm excited about this game because you always say as a coach, and I believe it. Your jump from the first game to the second game, you usually see some improvement, and we need to improve.
When it comes to covering kicks, what do you like about Anthony Miller out there? You look pretty animated just to get going. Yeah, he's a guy that we've been working in the spring and in the preseason, not in game action, but in practice. He's a physical player. He's a competitor. And he plays that 2 spot, and this was kind of his first game action, and he knows that he's going to continue to get better at that. But he gives us a lot of size and speed and strength at the point of attack there. I like playing him there.
I was working with Brock Olivo. Ben, I know personality-wise, he's an interesting guy. He's had weird experiences, been all over the place. And what have you gathered from him?
Brock's been awesome. I mean, he's pro's pro. I mean, he's been a help to me. He has the experience of obviously being an assistant and being a coordinator, and to be able to rely on that. It's not we run it, we do it together, and that's how I look at it. I've known Brock for a long time. I mean, I was a graduate assistant at the University of Missouri when he was a player. So to have him here, it's a great asset for us, and it's why we have a chance to hopefully be good on special teams.
Gone through so much since then. I mean, obviously, has he changed at all just based on his experiences or anything?
He's as good a person as you're ever going to meet, and he's very well grounded, and I think that's why he's successful, and is going to continue to be successful.
Thanks,
fellas.
Thanks, Chris.